So dear learners, in this video we will start discussing about our first software process model, that is waterfall model. Okay. So in the previous introductory video we have listed three different software process models. Under that, the first one was waterfall model, second one was the incremental development, and third one is reuse oriented. So out of these three, in this video we will cover the first one, that is very popularly and one of the oldest software process model, that is known as waterfall model. Okay. So just have a look at here. So basically this waterfall model, it comes under a plan driven model. So plan driven, as per our previous discussion, plan driven in the sense what here all the phases or activities of the software process will be well planned in advance. We are going to plan it. So planning in the sense what when it is supposed to start, when it is supposed to end, okay, how it is to be carried out, everything will be well planned here. Okay. And also in this waterfall model, all the activities will be done in terms of a distinct phases. So it means that we are going to carry out all the activities step by step here. If you observe the diagram also, so in this particular waterfall model, the name itself indicates that how the water will fall from one step to another step. Here also our whole activities of the software process that will be carried out, okay, phase by phase in a distinct phase. Means we will start with the first phase, we will finish it off, then we will move to what? The second phase. After finishing the second phase only, we will move to what? The third phase. So like this the process will be taken over here. Okay. And another important thing is, just do remember, in every software process model, including this waterfall model is concerned, okay, always do remember we will be carrying out the same four fundamental process activities. Always remember what are those: software specification, design and implementation, software validation, then what? Software evolution. The only thing is, the way of carrying out these activities may be different. Based on that, my software process model will get changed. So here also in the waterfall model, we are going to carry out the same activities, but in one particular approach. Is it clear? So just have a look at here, what are the different phases that we have identified for waterfall model. So my first activity or first phase is what? The requirement definition. Then second one is system and software design. Third one is implementation and unit testing. Okay. Then fourth one is what? That is integration and system testing, and last one is operation and maintenance. So these are the 5 different phases that we have identified for the software this waterfall model. But when you combine all these 5, they are nothing but a part of our 4 fundamental activities. Okay. So just we will see one by one all these phases in detail. What exactly we are going to perform in all these different phases of this waterfall model. So the very first one is what? Requirements analysis and definition. So in this particular phase, just have a look at here. So we are going to establish the system services. What are system services? System services are nothing but what? The functionalities that my software is supposed to what? Provide to the end users. They are nothing but what? System services, or the requirements. Okay, what my system is supposed to do for my customer. Okay. Then constraints. Constraints are nothing but what? Some sort of rules and regulations based on which I am supposed to develop the software. Okay. So either it may be a technical related constraints or it may be non-technical. See, for example, say budget constraint, how much money that I need to invest. Time constraint, okay, with what within what deadline I have to develop this software as a project. Okay. So it may be human resource constraint, how many employees that I need if I start developing this particular software. Is it clear? Then what about the technical constraints? Means non-functional requirements. What about the quality of the software, speed, execution. Okay. So all these things will come into picture that we need to what? Establish. And also we need to establish what? The goals with respect to management perspective, with respect to the organization perspective. Okay, whether it is a profitful or not, how much profit we will get it, what brand name you can get it. Okay, all such things that we need to establish. Okay, how it will be get established? By consultation with system users. Who are the system users here? the end users or the customers or any stakeholder who are directly or indirectly related to that particular software system that we are planning to develop. Is it clear? Okay. So, all these things should be defined, and those requirements should be finally converted in terms of what? The detailed specifications. So, that we will discuss it later, how we are supposed to define the requirements in terms of what? Software specification. There are different methods and concepts are available, that we will learn it in the forthcoming chapters there. Clear? So, once this is the first phase. Okay. So, once I will finish this first phase, I will move on to the second phase. What is that? So, once my requirements are defined, I will go for second one, that is system and what? Software design. See there, I am using two words here. Okay. I am not talking about only software, I am also talking about what? A system. When I am talking about a system, it is not purely software, it is combined, both hardware plus what? Software, because to run any software I need a support of what? Hardware. That is the reason that normally we used to consider software also what? As a system. Okay. So, system and software design. So, in this design part is concerned here, look at there, in this particular process we are going to allocate the requirements to what? Either hardware or what? Software system. Why? Because my system consists of two parts, either hardware related or what? Software related. Here I have defined my requirements. Now, what I will do? I will bifurcate which requirements are related to hardware and which requirements are related to what? Software. So, that I will make an allocation. Okay. And after doing that, I will establish the overall system architecture. That is nothing but what? Just in the design, just try to recall overall organization of what? My system. Why? Because we have already told system is not a single entity, it is made up of what? Different components or different subsystems. Then how I am going to make arrangement? How all these parts will be get interfaced? For that I am going to define what? A system architecture, and how those parts will be get what? Interfaced with what relationship? Okay, that we are going to what? Define. Okay. So, this is my second phase. So, after completion of this second phase, I will start with what? My third phase. What is the third phase? That is implementation and unit testing. So, once my design is ready, architecture is ready, I will convert that design in terms of what? The program. So, writing a program is nothing but what? Implementation. See there, my software design is realized as a set of what? Programs or program units. So, here every program is known as what? One unit. Is it clear? Okay. So, like that I will write n number of programs as a units. When I will combine all those n number of programs, I can call it as what? My software system. Is it clear? So, that is called as implementation. While doing that implementation itself, look at there, we are going to carry out another activity here, unit testing. What is unit testing here? Every unit is known as what? A program, that you remember. Okay. So, anyway we are going to write n number of different programs, and every program is written by one developer or any software engineer, and this is the responsibility of that software engineer to validate or test his program. If I am writing one program on sorting, it is my responsibility to check what input I am supposed to give and what is the expected output. Why? Because I have written the program, I know the logic. So, like that, if there are 50 programs, 50 people will write the program and they will perform a testing on those 50 programs, that is called as what? A unit testing. Is it clear? So, program by program I am going to perform what? The testing here, that is called unit testing, and it will be done at the time of what? Implementation itself. Is it clear? So, after doing that, now we will go for what? The next phase. The next phase is called as what? Integration and system testing. Okay. Just have a look at here. In my previous phase, always do remember, in every phase there will be some output. So, in my previous phase here, okay, what is the output of my previous phase? So, I have written all the programs, okay, and all these programs have been what? Tested. Is it clear? Now, I will go forward, integration. All these individual programs will be, individual programs is nothing but what? Units, that will be get what? Integrated. When I will integrate all these individual programs, what I will get? A complete system. And once again I have to perform what? Testing on that complete system. Okay, for what purpose? To check for whether the system requirements have been met or not. What are system requirements? System requirements are nothing but what? Specification that I have defined in what? My first phase. Okay, try to recall here, see there, So, this is my first phase. So, here I have defined all my specifications. Okay. So, once my software is ready, I have to test in a system testing. I should conclude that whether my all requirements have been met or not. What are requirements? Requirements are nothing but what? The customer needs, customer services, what the customer is expecting, that we need to confirm. Okay. So, once my software is ready, I have integrated. Once again I have done the system testing on the whole. Is it clear? Okay. And another important thing is, you may get the doubt here. Anyway, we have done the testing on individual program. Why we need to do once again after combining the program? Why we need to do the testing here? Always do remember, it is very simple. See, when you have tested P1, it might be okay. When you have tested P2, it might be okay. But when you will integrate P1 plus P2, it is not compulsory that you should get always the correct output. After integration, there may be some errors or some bugs. So, that is the reason that even though if you have tested program by program, unit by unit, after integration, once again after completion of your whole system, you have to perform the testing on the whole system. If your whole system is working fine with proper so as per the specifications, then you can say that yes, your software is what ready and it is get tested. Okay. So, once the software is ready, now we will go for the last step. Just have a look at there. What is that last step here? That is operation and maintenance. Okay. So, once my software is ready with validation is completed, that will be hand over to the customers. The customer will start using that. How it will be get delivered to the customer? The system is going to what? Installed, and it will be given for what? The practical use. Practical use in the sense what? The customer will start using that software. Is it clear? That is called operation. Once the customer will start using that that software, automatically they may get some bugs, some errors in later stages. Is it clear? They may get some errors, or after started using the system, after few days they want to enhance the system service. Enhancement of system service is nothing but what? The modifications. They want to add some new requirement, or they want to make modification for the existing requirement, or they want to delete some unwanted requirements. That is nothing but what? The maintenance or what? The evolution. Is it clear? So, this is what taking place in the last step. Okay. Hope all of you have understood all these 5 steps over here. Then finally, have a look at the advantages and disadvantages of this waterfall model is concerned. Okay. The very first problem or disadvantage that we can mention over here is, it is very difficult to make the changes or accommodate what? The changes into the process of this waterfall model once it is get started or it is get what? Finished. Why? Because do remember, waterfall model is a very strict model. It is a very strict model in the sense what? Once you start any phase, okay, till the completion of that phase, you are not supposed to start the second phase. Once you will complete the second phase, then only you can go for what? The third phase. Okay. While moving towards like that, after reaching the fourth phase, if any changes to be taken place in the first phase, then it will be very difficult to do that. Is it clear? Okay. And the another point is, see there, that is the reason that we say that phase has to be complete before moving on to the next phase. That is the reason that we told that it is a very strict phase. It is not flexible at all. It is not a flexible at all. Okay. Then this model is mostly used for what? Large engineering projects. It is suitable only for what? Large scale software systems. Okay. Then last one is, it is going to consume more time, more budget. Okay. Even the effort, manpower, everything is more here, because as it is a strict model and also which is applicable mainly on the large scale projects, automatically to complete those projects it requires lot of time, lot of money, investment and all those things. Okay. And the very important thing is, see there, whenever you want to go with this waterfall model for your software development, make sure that you are 100% perfect in your requirement definition in the very beginning itself. If your requirements are well defined and if they are 100% perfect, then only you can go for what? This one. Otherwise, every time after completion of design and implementation, you cannot come back and what? Change the requirements. It will become more costlier here. Okay. Then the advantages are concerned here. We cannot say that only disadvantage. It is also one of the oldest model we told, started in the year 1970s itself. and also very popular model also, and very popularly known as SDLC, software development life cycle. Okay. So, here this waterfall model allows us to what? To define and well structured requirements. So, here our documentation is ultimate documentation that we can 100% documentation that we can do here. Okay. So, because it is a clear cut phase wise we are going to carry out the activities here. Okay. So, our documentation is very good and all our requirements will be 100% perfect, then automatically when my requirements are correct we can assure that my design is good. When my design is good we can assure with what? My coding. When my coding is correct then my testing will be 100%. When my testing is 100%, ultimately we can say that my quality of the software is what? Good. Okay. So, that is the reason that we always used to get what? A high quality software and also the dependability. Dependability means it is one of the attributes of a good software. What is the dependability? We have told it is availability. Availability will be always high. Okay. The software will be always reliable. Reliable in the sense what? It will be giving a correct functionalities, then it is more secured and safe. Okay. Okay. So, that is the main advantage of this waterfall model, and finally, it is best suitable for what? The large scale systems. So, this is all about the waterfall model is concerned. Okay. So, please go through this video again and again, and hope all of you will understand the basic concept of this waterfall model. Thank you.